So now that we've looked at shot detection in PyScene Detect, let's look at a GUI version of this because I know some of you may be more comfortable using GUIs. So for this example, I'm going to use the latest version of DaVinci Resolve, the free version. There are two versions of DaVinci Resolve. One is called DaVinci Resolve, and the other is called DaVinci Resolve Studio. Studio, I think, costs $250. The Resolve without Studio is free. So we're going to look at that version. I will post a link to, I don't know, someone's tutorial from YouTube for the Studio version. But for this version, since it's free, I just want to show people how to use it. So you can download DaVinci Resolve, just Google it. It's by Blackmagic, and then you'll download the version that does not have Studio in it. So once you've installed it, opened it, you'll come to a screen that looks like this, and you will just go ahead and open an untitled project. Now the important thing for this, for the free version, is you have to work from the Media tab, which is down here, and then you have to work before you import any files. So usually you would just drag clips into your media pool and you would work from them from there. In order for shot detection to work for this free version, you have to do it outside of that. So basically to work from wherever your files are on your desktop. So I'm just going to go and find my files here. They're in Mac HD, users, me, and then I need to go to the desktop. And then I've got to scroll all the way down to Groundhog Day. And sorry, you'll see how messy my files are. So here is my file. It's called Groundhog Day. Again, you can find this wherever you put your file. It doesn't need to be local, so you need to pull it out of Drive. And then you'll just right-click on it, and you'll see here that it has Scene Cut Detection. So go ahead and click on that. So this will open in an interface that looks like this. To start with, just hit Auto Scene Detect. And this is going to go through your entire film and try to detect where the cuts are. Okay, so now it's done it, and now we can actually, along the right-hand side here, see where all of our cuts are. So it says starting at 0, which would obviously be the first frame, it's then going to say, hey, at 54, I think there's a cut here. Now, looking at this interface, you'll see these tall green bars are where it has decided a cut is. The height of these green bars is sort of what would be called a confidence score. So this is the confidence of the model to be able to assume there is a cut here. You'll also see this purple pink line. This is the threshold for when it should add a cut or not. So you can actually drag this up and down. You'll see it adds different cuts in here based on this. So I kind of bring it down to, I don't know, a little bit about 2/3 down the way, and then we can check this. So you could honestly just do this, and that would be a nightmare because you have to go through every single frame, but you could set a score where like, hey, I just wanted to grab more than less, and then you could sort of figure it out from there. So once you sort of set the position here, then what we want to do is actually go through the frames one by one and sort of check to make sure they're correct. So what we'll do is we'll scroll back up here and we'll click on each scene. And what you'll see that what happens here is as this loads in, you'll see there's a single image here, and there's also two images to the left and to the right. And this is the frame before and the frame after this frame where it wants to do the cut. So in an ideal world, which is exactly what we see here, we should see the frame before is dramatically different than this frame, and the frame after is very similar. That is sort of how we know, like, here's a cut. So I can assume this is correct. Let's go down to the next one. That also looks correct. We're going from this frame to this frame. We're going from this frame to this frame. That looks correct. Correct. So far, so good. So here's a frame where I would kind of say, I don't think this is actually a cut. Because what we're seeing here is actually the difference between a very fast-moving frame, right? So it's assuming it's moving, it doesn't know it's moving really fast. And it's therefore sort of saying like, hey, here's a cut. So in order to do this, what I believe you do is you just hit delete. And it's going to delete that cut. And here's another one. There's probably going to be a couple here because this thing is moving so fast. So I'm just going to delete all of these. And then I think what we actually want is not this frame, but the next frame. Yep, so here's where we want this frame to stay. So now we'll come back up. Let's just make sure that's correct and that's correct. And I could go through the rest of these, but I'm just going to assume that I've got the rest of them. Again, this is why this is a little bit more annoying than Pi to text. You need to go through every single frame. This is a 2.5 minute trailer. If I had to do this for a 2-hour long movie, I might be here quite a long time. Now, trailers tend to have more cuts in them than a film does. But still, like, you'll see, like, I'm only at 26 of 114. And I could spend a lot more time in here going through each one of these, double checking them. Or what I could do is I'll just say, like, let's just assume that I'm now finished and these are correct. And what we'll do is we'll just say add cuts to media pool. I believe this is now finished behind the scenes. Let's just double check. Yep, so they've all been added. So now what I can do is I can now move into media and I can select all of these. And let's go into cut. I do it from the cut panel. So you click into cut, then you'll drag, hit Command A to select everything. Right, I want to select all those clips. Let's move them down into our media pool right here. And then you'll see they're all sequenced out here. So they're all my clips. Now, in order to export these, what I need to do is I need to hit deliver. And then I want to come over here and let's just choose H.264. And then what I want to select is individual clips. And I want to use render at source resolution. And then we're going to go into file. And we're going to say unique file name. And let's just call this Groundhog Day. And we'll give it a unique file name with a suffix. And then we don't need that. Go back to video, make sure all these are set correctly. Render at source resolution. And then we're going to add to render queue. And it's going to say, hey, where should I put these? So let's go to our desktop. And let's call it Groundhog Day. And then we'll go ahead and hit render all. So what it's going to do is then when I go to my folder, you'll see it's outputting each individual file. Now this appears to be quite slow because it is doing a lot of processing. So upside of this is you can sort of approve every cut that you're producing. The downside of this is that it's very manual. You have to go through every single frame to double check that it's the right clip. And then you need to go through and render out each clip individually, and that can be kind of slow. If you really want super, super accurate shots and cuts, then I would say this process is better than Pi Detect. If you just want to play with making a bunch of clips and then operating on them in future weeks, then Pi Detect is probably better. It's probably faster. But you kind of have to decide at what level you want. And you might want to play with sort of like the difference between the two and maybe even check to see, like, with this particular piece of film I have, like, what works better. So I'm actually just going to stop this now, but this is the process for DaVinci Resolve. When you're done, you'll get a folder of clips, and you'll want to upload those to your drive folder then. So each one of these is, a certain length. And maybe you don't care about the Columbia pictures and you want to cut that out. You would just delete it before you upload it. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and stop that because I don't actually need to finish this because I've already done it through Pi Detect. But this is the process for DaVinci Resolve. Again, there is a slightly different process for the DaVinci Resolve Studio, and I'll share a link to that from a YouTube video. Since it's paid, I don't really feel like doing another tutorial on it because it's $250. I'd rather use Colab than pay $250 for Resolve if you don't need to. But some of you are probably Resolve users, especially if you're in a film. So that's the process for this. Now we're going to start to play with our clips. So we'll jump to the video for that.